Next, a hostage ceasefire deal in the Middle East is still under discussion this Wednesday, but does seem now to be closer than ever before. Mediators say that they are making a final push to seal the deal that would calm Israeli attacks on Gaza and begin releasing some of the dozens of hostages still being held 15 months after they were taken by Hamas. We're going to talk more about this potential deal with Middle East expert and former hostage negotiator Gershon Baskin, who joins me now from Jerusalem. Gershon, you were the person responsible for the secret back channel between Israel and Hamas that successfully negotiated the release of another hostage, Gilad Shalit, in 2011. What are you hearing now from your sources about all of the details of this deal that are on the table?
Well, we're negotiating the same deal that's been on the table since the end of May when it was presented by President Biden. It's taken months before there was the political will to do the deal. And the main difference between then and now is January 20th and the entry of Donald Trump into the White House. Trump has let it be known to the Israelis, to the Qataris, the Egyptians, and to Hamas that he expects the deal to be done before he enters the White House. He wants this war over. He wants the hostages home. And everyone seems to be taking him seriously. His special emissary, Steve Witkoff, is working hand in hand with Brett McGurk from the Biden White House in working with the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the Israelis to get the deal done. And I think we are very, very close.
Now, in regard to what would be inside this deal, we are hearing things from different sources. In regard to this particular hostage release, there would be a first phase with some 33 hostages released. But then we're getting reporting from media like Haaretz who are saying that the government of Israel has no intention of then ever getting to phase two. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we really don't know that. I'm assuming that since Hamas has agreed to enter into phase one, and until now their demand was that there be an obligation or an international assurance that phase two would lead to an end of the war. I'm assuming that they got that assurance from the Qataris and the Egyptians through the White House, through the Trump White House, that in fact the war would end. According to the agreement, on day 16 of the first 42 days, they were supposed to begin negotiations on phase two. By day 30, they're supposed to finish those negotiations, and the ceasefire should continue into the second 42-day period, during which time all the remaining 65 Israeli hostages would be returned in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, and Israel would withdraw from Gaza. There are many difficulties in a deal which takes so long to implement. It should have been really a much quicker deal of 3 weeks, not 3 months. But nonetheless, it will be done. It has to be done. This war has to end.
Indeed. And I guess this begs the question, is a bad deal better than no deal?
It is a bad deal, and it is better than no deal. Not all bad deals are better than no deals. This one is, because every human life that's saved, whether it be on the side of Gaza or the Israeli hostages or Israeli civilians on the other side of the border, is a whole universe. We need to stop the war. We need to stop the killing and the death and destruction on all sides, and we need to bring the hostages home. So even if some of the hostages are brought home and not all of them are brought home, it's better than not bringing any of them home.
And just to wrap up, what about the far-right members of Netanyahu's government who have been resistant to a deal? I mean, might they block this from happening now?
No, they can't. They don't have a majority in the government. They could vote against it. I don't think they will bulk the government. There's nothing in it for them to leave the government. They want the Netanyahu government to continue to be in power. These people from the far right in Israel never dreamed of being in positions of such power, and it would be political suicide for them to abandon the government that they support. So I think they'll vote against. They'll stay in the government. Even if they leave the government, it's only damage to themselves. And in fact, from a broader political picture, it would be better if this government falls faster rather than later.
And Gershon, just before you go, something you touched on at the beginning of our talk today, do you really think that this is happening now just because Donald Trump is coming into office in 5 days' time?
100%. It wouldn't have happened without Trump. Israel has made concessions that it refused to make until now in terms of movement of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, in terms of releasing prisoners with blood on their hands, in terms of committing apparently to end the war. And I think likewise, the Egyptians and the Qataris have a lot of interest with the new American administration. It's a complex administration. Trump is transactional, and everyone wants to be on the right side of the deal.